Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and welcome to 2024. Joining me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and a Happy New Year's to all our listeners. Timstradamus, would you like to hear some fun New Year's facts?
Hey, man.
New Year's has been celebrated as far back as 4,000 years ago, and it was actually Julius Caesar that declared January 1st as a national holiday. He named the first month of the year after the Roman god Janus, who is the god of doors and gates. And Janus has a face in the front and the back to both represent the past and the future. That's why Caesar felt that naming the month after him would actually fit.
Very cool. Janus?
Janus.
Sounds like my father when he would drive us places as kids. Eyes in the front, eyes in the back. For new listeners, Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
Voyse.
Timstradamus.
We have some new shout-outs to make.
Yes, we actually do. 2 patrons. Welcome Sharon Kendrick and Margot Tagoto.
Yes, welcome to the Tea Club. And as you can notice behind me, we have 2 new friends. Voyse and I have never been to a Build-A-Bear.
It was exciting.
Over the holidays, we were walking at a outside mall situation, and there was a lot of people. I think we spent about 2 hours in a Build-A-Bear.
The line was intense. I definitely suggest setting aside the time to build your Build-A-Bear.
It was an experience.
They actually had you put a heart in it.
Lovely people, though.
Oh, amazing. So sweet. Well, looping into some of the adorable, I must say, happy birthday to our son.
Yes, he turned 17 today.
Absolutely crazy how fast time has flown by.
Yeah.
Please make it stop.
It's been one of life's greater joys to watch him turn into the young man he is today. And I look forward to everything in the future.
That's very true. It feels like it was only yesterday that we were watching Lord of the Rings and he was calling the wizard Grandalf.
Well, before we get any more soppier, Voyse.
Timstradamus.
What have you created for me this morning?
I have brewed for you up a very simple tea. It just has cinnamon, hibiscus, and orange peel. I figured we'd go ahead and start the new year with something that's nice and reminiscent of the holidays.
Oh, this is crazy.
Sometimes it just takes going back to the basics to really enjoy something that's nice.
That's fantastic. Seriously, that's like a 10 out of 10.
Hooray! Well, you go ahead and enjoy your morning brew. Why don't we go ahead and delve into these stories? For our first story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend and her husband out for eating/wasting my food? I, female 34, made the mistake of allowing my best friend, Mary, female 33, her husband, Carl, male 27, and 2 kids to crash at my place after showing up without being invited. She showed up for a visit and later complained that it was too late to drive back home, 5 hours. I hate having people over, and she has a history of being a moocher. However, we did have a great time, so in the end I was grateful for her visit, and it was raining. I agreed to let her spend the night safely at my place. I did not go crazy with accommodations because I didn't want her to get too comfortable. So I opened the sofa bed for them and went to sleep. My boyfriend went into the bathroom near midnight and woke me up looking angry and confused. He said Mary and her husband were having an unauthorized food orgy in our kitchen. I immediately went there and found her by the dinner table with all our sushi trays laying around. While she was sampling it and handing it to her husband, the wastebasket was right next to them because he was taking a bite and spitting it out if he didn't like it. My sushi sampler tray was left with just a few pieces, and most of my boyfriend's tray was thrown away by them without even asking my permission to eat it. They also cut a brand new and store-sealed artisan cake and opened juice cartons straight from the pantry, despite me having left juice in the refrigerator in case they wanted some. The garbage bin had lots of chewed rice. It looked like someone had chewed and sucked it for flavor tasting and then spit it out. I found this especially infuriating as I left those dishes in the back of the fridge and inside 2 tightly knotted bags for privacy. I served them dinner. I showed her where the bread and sandwich supplies could be found in case they needed anything. I don't understand why she wanted to take more than she was given. I also found a complete box of chocolates gifted by my boyfriend, emptied out, and an entire 6-pack of Coca-Cola all gone into the garbage. Her excuse was her wanting her husband to have a taste of nice things because he's not familiar with sushi, and she has always talked about the food I like to buy. I immediately kicked her out. She begged because it was 12 a.m. and said they would leave very early in the morning. I went to bed crying in anger. I woke them up at almost 4 a.m. She started clicking her tongue like a sleepy cartoon character, and her husband protested that it was too early. I pulled the sheets from him and had them leave. As clarification, they both have jobs, and shame on me for allowing her to come in because I've had to create boundaries with her multiple times because of showing up unannounced, playing the I lost my wallet game when the check comes at the restaurant, and constantly trying to stiff me with the bills. She called me hours later, but I didn't pick up, so she left a message. She said I spoiled her Christmas because her intent was to come visit her family living nearby, but by having to go back home, they couldn't contact family members to ask them to let them in because it was too early. So she and her husband had a fight, and they drove back, and now he only wants to spend their 10-day vacation with his own family. She sent me another message a few hours later. She says that he's still very angry because he had to drive while groggy, and that being sleepy causes him to be grouchy all day. She said he's so mad at her that he moved his stuff to another bedroom. I know when she's lying, and her tears sounded really desperate. She's begging me to call him and talk to him, but I don't want to and won't do it. I sent her a cash request for $500 United States dollars to cover the sushi trays, the cake, and other food plus replacements, also for inconveniencing me and for their night over. It sounds petty, but I'm still fuming. She whined and cried but paid for it, then said that because of me, her kids won't have Christmas. Clarification, I cited for abuse of trust and hospitality when I kicked them out. I wouldn't have minded if they made sandwiches or took from the already open juice cartons, which were almost full. But I cannot forgive what they did and the food wasting. I already blocked her after telling her that we are no longer friends via text. She sent a friend I hardly know to talk some sense into me, and whom I told to go fuck themselves. He says what I did was over the top because not only did I scold, kicked her out, and announced the end of our friendship, but made her pay me money. Am I the a-hole?
What a way to get us kicked off into the new year. I thought people were going to be better. Could you clarify something for me? Do they say how long they've been in a friendship with this person?
No.
Okay. They sound very comfortable, because would we ever show up unannounced 5 hours away? Because see, at that point in the story, your friend knows how far you are, and she was just being a good person because that's a 5-hour drive. So, and she was not aware that they were just using her house as the sleepover just to get to the rest of the family the next day.
No, we've never done that.
That's expecting a lot out of not just a friend, but anyone. But our OP obliges. So she was still being a good host, even though her friend is very rude.
I'm surprised because I was raised understanding you don't go into other people's fridges, not without their explicit permission.
To have carte blanche in someone else's home and eat everything that they did, because we're not talking about a couple crackers or some chips that were laying on a table. We're talking about they went through their cabinet, their fridge, they brought things to the table, and then she is right. They not only ate food and a lot of it without permission, they wasted food. And then she confronts them. Not only does the friend manipulate ROP out of not kicking them out immediately, because most people would have kicked them out the second that happened because you're disrespecting them. in their home. And I don't care that there's 2 kids along with the OP and her husband. If you really wanted to make sure that your kids weren't having to get up that early and your husband get up that early, you would have kept your hands to yourself. That makes zero sense to me that you would feel that comfortable in someone else's home. And this is where I guess I circle back on this entire story. This doesn't sound like it's the first and only time that the OP's friend has taken advantage of OP. That sucks. This has come up a lot. She says it's her fault. She blames herself because she knows how this friend acts. How many times have you done that with a friend where you go, I just want to see the best. I'm going to go ahead and try again. And it's to your detriment every single time. You've got to learn how to set up healthy boundaries for the people that you have in your life. You can't let them run roughshod over you. It sounds like you're on the right course. And to have that one friend have another friend come and tell you that you're being a bad person, get out of here with that. It's 2024. I don't give a fuck.
Welcome to the new year.
OP, in my opinion, you're definitely not the a-hole.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is that our OP is definitely not the a-hole. And let me just add to what you said, Timstradamus. Set your boundaries. Be strong in keeping them too. I know it's much harder for some people to take that first step. For a lot of other people, it's easy to take that first step and much more difficult to actually maintain those boundaries.
Very true.
So let me go ahead and provide some insight when it comes to our commenters. A few of them said, are your friends raccoons? They were chewing your food and spitting it out in the trash at midnight in your house?
Whoa.
My goodness. They sound feral. Now, let me actually put out there, when I was reading this, my first thought was trash pandas. And all I kept thinking is, wow, how could somebody think that it's okay to go into someone else's house and not just take their stuff, but then treat it with such disrespect and no disregard?
Wasting it.
It really is sad. And I have to say, most of the comments from the comment section made me laugh. A few were saying, but it's sushi tasting. You sample a sushi and spit it in a bucket.
Ugh.
I've never heard of this. And hopefully it doesn't become the next TikTok trend. Well, we started off the year doing some ethically questionable stuff.
Raccoons.
Let us go into our next story and see if we can morally get each other on the right path. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my little brother's boyfriend at my wedding? My 23 male baby brother, Mateo, 15 male, started dating one of his wrestling teammates, Ron, 17 male. I don't like Ron at all, and something's off with him. Around my parents, he's sweet as a saccharine, but around others, he's a rude little shit. I don't like the way he talks to Mateo and seems to have isolated him away from his friends. He's constantly calling, wanting to know where Mateo is, and every time they have a bad argument, Mateo comes home crying, and Ron buys him some new trinket, and it's all better. Mateo has been blaming a lot of stuff on wrestling practice. I've tried talking to Mateo about it, but he either just brushes it off, shuts down, or gets mad. Our family, while accepting that he's gay, is still pretty machismo and into more traditional roles. It's no secret that Ron isn't my favorite person. I'm getting married in a week, and originally Ron wasn't coming, but all of a sudden, yesterday, Mateo asks if Ron can come. I asked him why all of a sudden he wants to come when he said he didn't at first. Mateo tells me Ron knows I don't like him, and he wants to fix that. Unfortunately, there really isn't any more room for anyone else with all the family coming, and I told Mateo that. Mateo got mad and yelled at me that our other siblings got to bring a date, and I countered that they already said they were going in the beginning, and I actually wanted them there. Mateo gets even more mad and tells me Ron told him this would happen and that the only reason I wouldn't let him bring Ron is because he's a boy. I told him that wasn't true, and I explained why I didn't want Ron there. He just blows up at me crying that none of it's true and asking me why I couldn't just be happy for him and called me homophobic. I told him to fuck off, as I was the first person he came out to, and I supported him. He just stormed off, and we haven't talked since. Am I the a-hole?
Well. What a spasm meatball.
Cowboy.
So let's go ahead and get rid of the homophobia, because I don't believe that's in this story. Not the way Mateo is accusing our OP of anyway, because he says it in his story. When Mateo came out, it was to his brother, and it sounds like he supports his little brother. But the thing I can say that is worrisome is OP highlights some things that Mateo's boyfriend, Ron, has been doing in this relationship already. Isolating, that's an issue. Keeping tabs on him, that's an issue. Third one, being two-faced. That one's an alarm bell. ROP says that Ron acts differently with the folks around than when they aren't around. It's never good to be around someone that you can say acts a different way when other people are around. But a 15-year-old wouldn't know that. Now, this whole story comes to a head because there's going to be a wedding. OP is about to get married. He says that Mateo was originally going to the wedding solo. And now all of a sudden, the wedding's coming up. And now Ron tells Mateo that he wants to come, but he knows that our OP doesn't like him. And then he speaks that poison into his ear and goes, I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to play out. They're going to tell you no. And it's only because they hate that you're gay. That's some poison. From what I understand, from OP's perspective, he doesn't dislike Ron because he's gay. He dislikes Ron because Ron is toxic and he's a bad influence on his brother. I can get behind that. So let me summarize. Because it is OP's wedding, you get to choose who gets to come and who doesn't. At the end of the day, I'm sorry that Mateo feels that way. I guess my biggest piece of advice, make sure you keep talking to your brother. Make sure you don't let Ron come between you and him, because that isolation island is dangerous. Ron might be okay with throwing away Mateo's connections, but you shouldn't be. Just be strong for your brother and be there when he needs you. But you are not the a-hole OP.
Solid advice, Timstradamus. For our Redditors, the consensus was our OP is not the a-hole. In fact, many of them flagged that Ron is an abusive person, especially with the way that our OP is describing. They said, please don't allow him to isolate you away from your brother as well, because that's what he's trying to do, is create a wedge between Mateo and our OP. Additionally, I would also like to bring up that there is a clear difference between grooming and coaching. Now, grooming, it's when someone who has more experience in life tries to take someone who is young, does not have as much experience, and who is susceptible to manipulation because of that age gap. In this case, it's not grooming. And a lot of individuals were upset because the word was coming up when this was clearly not a grooming case. This is what is considered a coaching case. In our case, Ron was trying to coach Mateo into what was going to happen, as you pointed out, Timstradamus. That is another tactic in abusive relationships. I don't think it's one that truly gets enough credit and spoken about a lot. When you have someone who's your partner that is telling you, do this, because I know that's how it's going to play out, and therefore this is what's going to happen. That type of coaching tactic is pretty despicable in my opinion. And a lot of the times it doesn't come from a place of love and understanding. It comes because they want to be right about a situation. And they'll do it to the detriment of other relationships around you. So be mindful of that. And I just wanted to bring that forward because a lot of commenters in the comment section also try to bring it forward. Well, hopefully that relationship between our brothers definitely works itself out and that Mateo can actually see what kind of relationship he's truly in with Ron. Now let's go to our next story and see what you think about this relationship. Am I the a-hole for wanting to break up with my girlfriend after her ex's funeral? So my girlfriend and I have been together for about 4 years. She used to be close friends with her ex. However, he tried to make a move on her while she and I were together. So she cut off their friendship. They knew each other for about 10 years. They were high school sweethearts. and stayed together throughout college. They broke up because he did not want kids. He died recently, and my girlfriend was invited to the funeral. While I wasn't happy, so to speak, to see my girlfriend cry about this guy, I swallowed my emotions and offered my full support. She asked me to come with her. Here's where things get messy. She kept talking about she wishes they never broke up in the first place, and that she's never met someone who she loved as much as him. She made a speech about how she says that if things had been different, they'd be a happy family with children. I had to force myself not to say anything then. Now we're back home, and she hasn't said anything about what she said. I'm so close to just leaving, but I just don't know if she only said that out of grief. Am I the a-hole?
Well, I believe I have found the first recipient of Weena Jacket of the Week for 2024. I understand being a supportive, I'm guessing boyfriend, right?
Correct.
He says his girlfriend's high school sweetheart passed away. Now, him trying to be a good boyfriend, he sucks it up and they go to the funeral. It sounds like there was many boundaries crossed and that he, and I hate saying this, was the rebound relationship. So let's fast forward to the funeral. ROP says that she's giving I'm guessing a eulogy, and the things that she says in it, with him present, about how they should never have broken up, about right now they would have a loving family and children. As a person in a relationship that's been in that relationship for 4 whole years, to hear your now partner speak that way about anybody would be gut-wrenching. I don't know if that's worth spending the rest of my life with, knowing that I am second best. So in my opinion, OP, I don't believe, because what is he exactly asking? Is just purely, is it okay if I break up with her because of what she said at the funeral?
Correct.
If you do want to break up with your girlfriend, that's completely understandable, because everyone has the right to break up with their partner regardless of reason. But I would say maybe suggesting to her she go get into some type of therapy or counseling would be best, because it sounds like your girlfriend's living with one foot in the past, and this death might accelerate all of those type of feelings and thoughts. So she might need to go get herself some help. But I do not believe that you are the a-hole, OP.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is that our OP is definitely not the a-hole. And just to come out there were individuals that said you're allowed to have your grief. And sometimes there are things that said in grief that you don't truly mean. But for a lot of individuals here, they say that grief isn't something that should be used to hurt others. For a lot of individuals, this whole thing was clear cut. The only reason why, and our OP says it clearly, his girlfriend and her ex broke up was because her ex didn't want kids. To have her say that had she just stayed with him, they would have already had a family, that's just in her mind what she believes would have happened had she somehow been able to convince him to have kids, because he didn't want any.
Yeah.
That's the reason why their relationship didn't work out. Now, I will go ahead and provide one comment that I thought you can see it from the perspective of the girlfriend. So my ex-fiance died recently. It was very quick due to lung cancer. I did get married after him. My husband was with me when I delivered his eulogy. I never discussed what could have been or what could have happened. I told some funny stories and put together photos from his life with help from his family. I certainly did not try to place myself in what could have been. And I think that's where everything comes back to. Our OP's girlfriend was not happy being in a relationship with him. There might have been care for feelings, but definitely wasn't in love feelings. And rather than going ahead and breaking off that relationship, instead, she continued to stay with him for 4 years. It shouldn't be okay that the one place where you find out that you're second best is at someone else's funeral while she's delivering that message in front of everyone there. Now, there were a few commenters that said, is this your girlfriend? And did she post this AITA post? Because it seems to line up pretty well with yours. So let's go ahead and read that one and see, could that potentially be his girlfriend?
What's happening?
Am I the a-hole for wanting to go to my ex's funeral?
Detective Voice on the case.
So my boyfriend, 29, and me, 29, have been together for about 4 years now. I made a terrible mistake with my ex and slept with him about 2 years ago. Yes, while me and my boyfriend were together. I told my boyfriend, and I begged him to stay. After some hard work, we reconciled. One of the things he told me I needed to do if I wanted to stay with him is to cut off my ex from my life. So I did. Me and my ex have amazing memories together. We traveled several countries together. We broke up because we didn't want children, and I did. But we continued to be good friends up until I cheated with him. 2 days ago, I found out he died in a car accident, and his mom reached out to let me know. My boyfriend and I currently live together, and he noticed me crying my eyes out. He asked me why, and I told him the truth. He went, "Oh." He did hold me until I fell asleep. I was messaging my ex's mom, and she invited me to his funeral. When I told my boyfriend I was going to go, he got mad. He told me his feelings were complicated. He says he's not going to stop me from going, but he just doesn't know how to feel about this. He says he can't be supportive over this. He said if I decided to go to my ex's funeral, he doesn't know if he would still want to stay with me. I want my boyfriend to be supportive when I'm in so much pain, but I know I can't blame him. Am I the a-hole?
Well, now we know about the other side because he doesn't tell us in the first story that she cheated.
Well, from what our OP said in the previous post was that he made a move on her and she cut it off.
See, that isn't him making a move and she being appalled by it. That's a completely different scenario. The fact that he took her back is the issue. Your girlfriend clearly doesn't love you, like you said. That's not love. You're the rebound. No one wants to feel like that. It's sad that you had to be the pawn in the middle, though, and you had to come to this revelation through this whole process.
So was she the a-hole for wanting to go to her ex's funeral?
This one definitely is a complicated answer. If we detach away the fact that she has a boyfriend, that she cheated on said boyfriend with the ex who is now unfortunately passed away, that she has had a relationship with him for 10 plus years, that they've been friends since they were kids, is she in the wrong for going to a funeral of a childhood friend?
I don't believe so.
In my mind, that's where it comes down to. I understand all the bad stuff in it, that she slept with him in the middle of a current relationship. I don't think she's the a-hole for going to the funeral and getting the closure that a funeral hopefully gives people. That's important. It's to say goodbye one last time. I think she is the a-hole because she had her boyfriend come to this thing and wrote a eulogy proclaiming her love. That's the issue.
Well, the consensus on Reddit for this story is that she's the a-hole. And she's the a-hole because the entire way through, she's putting down how she wants her boyfriend to be more supportive. Let me go ahead and read this top comment here. This man was holding you while you cried about the dude you cheated on him with. That is him being supportive. And I think that's where everything boils down to. She sees that her boyfriend isn't being supportive, but he has been. His feelings can be complicated, and he doesn't have to be okay with some things being the way that they are, because these are consequences to her choices.
Yep.
Now, let me just go ahead and bring it back. In our previous story, we had the perspective of the boyfriend. And in this story, we have the perspective of the girlfriend.
Wait, are we about to get the perspective from the passed away ex?
No. Unfortunately, I don't Ouija board here. But the real question here is, are those two stories really connected?
I mean, they have to be. The correlation between the stories is
Extremely similar.
yes.
But then at the same time, is it? So let's go to an update from our original poster, the boyfriend. Original poster from the boyfriend says, "Hello everyone. It's been a stressful couple of days, and my post got a lot more attention than I expected. It was overwhelming, to be honest. It's been a week since the funeral itself, and I've been talking to some friends as well as reading comments on my last post. Truth be told, I've been hesitant to talk about this to my girlfriend about because she's still been depressed. She's not talking to me at all, and I've been taking care of everything around our place. She's just been laying in our bed. I've tried to talk to her, but she just shuts me out. I've been reflecting on our past relationship and realized a couple of things. My girlfriend was never as passionate with me as she was with her ex. She never did anything as romantic or thoughtful for me when compared to her ex. For example, she's never gone traveling for more than 3 days with me, but she traveled often with her ex, sometimes for years. It's not like I haven't offered. I was simply told to get over it and that each relationship is different, and people said shit like if she wanted to be with her ex, she would be. Something also to note is that some of you actually pointed my attention to another post, one that's about a girl going to her ex's funeral. I read the post, and I don't know if it's actually my girlfriend or not. Some details are different, like our age. We're both 30. Also, I never said anything about breaking up with her for going to the funeral. I wasn't exactly happy to see her mourn the guy who wanted to sleep with her while she was with me, but I didn't actually say anything. Now, that post admitted that she actually cheated. I thought about this for a second, but it doesn't matter, because if she cheated or not, I already broke up with her. I did have a talk with her. She refused to at first by not responding to me, but when I told her I was leaving, she finally said something to me. I basically told her that I feel like crap ever since she said those things at the funeral. How I feel like she would rather be with her ex than me, that I felt like her second choice. She started to yell at me, calling me selfish, and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life, and I shouldn't make this about me. I was too tired to try to yell back. My things were already packed. I'm staying with my parents for a while. Our lease doesn't expire for a few months, so I don't know what she's planning to do. I don't know what to do now. I thought I was going to marry this girl someday and have kids, but she wanted someone else all this time. I appreciate all the comments, and I don't know if I'm going to post another update, but thank you.
You know what's funny is he's going, the facts don't add up. We're 30, they're 29. Stop it. There was too much matched, and I don't believe in coincidence.
So the one thing that I can tell you, while I think coincidences are very hard to put together, timelines are forever. It feels like it's a little jarring when it comes to the timelines, where hers is much older compared to his, where the funeral was just had. While coincidentally, it may still line up, it seems to be much harder, and it could potentially be two different scenarios, just very eerily close to each other. I think one of the most jarring things for me is that in our update, our OP says that his girlfriend yelled at him, calling him selfish, and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life. But I don't think that she's seeing she's lost two important people.
Biggest piece of advice is go get yourself into some type of counseling, because that stuff will keep perpetuating to other relationships that she might get into in the future. So, was that our last story?
That was our last story.
You found some really good ones to get us kicked off into the new year with.
I really wanted to focus on relationships, true relationships, how we see each other when it comes to a couple's relationship, such as you and I, to our family, to our friends. Let's make 2024 a year about caring for the people that we should be caring about.
Hear, hear. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you've seen the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We regularly post on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would also love to thank all of our patrons for your support. We truly do feel the love.
Yes, we love and appreciate every single one of you.
So, Timstradamus, before we leave, I wanted to go ahead and maybe confuse you a little, but give you something warm and fuzzy inside for the start of the year.
Okay.
In the month of December, we had someone, one of our listeners, actually find a small black kitten, and they asked our viewership if they could help them name this cat that they've decided to adopt into their family.
Oh, yeah.
Our listener, Mary, actually decided to name her cat Holly. So if you'd like to go ahead and take a peek at Holly, hopefully she gives you the warm and fuzzies inside.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing the photos with us.
Yes, definitely. I am so glad that Mary has a new addition to her family. And we'll segue this into an idea that Timstradamus and I have been bouncing back and forth. We'd love to share some nice, wholesome pet pictures. If you're interested, please go ahead and send us an email with your pet pictures, and we'd love to share them with our viewership.
Yeah, we're not quite sure what we want to do with it, but maybe it's something where we have a pet of the week or a pet of the month. But if you'd like to enter that, you can send us an email with a picture and maybe the name and a short little description of your animal if you'd like.
Definitely.
And we'll let you guys know exactly how we plan on doing that. We're in the beginning stages of the idea.
So you'll actually see us grow with these little ideas that we're thinking of.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.
I want to watch that Wonka movie again.
In a hat full of dreams.